Well, slap bass playing is a technique on the bass. It's not really a style. I think is the first thing to get, that, you know, the style that's associated with it's funk more than any other.
Yeah.
But it's really just a technique on the bass, because you can play funk with a pick, you can play it with your fingers, you know, any which way you can come up with. So it's not really a style, you know. But the technique itself is basically a lot like playing drums. You know, there's a percussive aspect to it, to where, you know, it's a rhythmic, you know, a lot of it can be more rhythmic than, you know, harmonic. Now, what I do with my slap playing, and it's still a work in progress, is that I combine the new techniques, like, you know, Victor Wooten, you know, came out with his stuff, you know, utilizing the double thumb technique. And I wanted to have a technique on the instrument to where I can incorporate everybody's stuff, you know, rather than just the standard, combine the double thumb techniques, you know, get all the speed happening with that, right? Now I'm really big on efficiency and hand, you know, economy. You know, everything doesn't have to be there to get the note out. You know, I like to weed out, because I feel like it's wasted energy. So I like to keep my hand in one position. So in researching this, I found there's really only one way to do the double thumb, because basically the double thumb technique is simply using the tip of your thumb like a pick. Basically reduces the amount of down-up motion of the hand. So you get more notes, you know, with less effort.
Right.
So since that's the only way to get the double thumb happy with this hand angle, I decided that everything else had to work around this, right? So that my regular thumb, my pocket, everything would work with this hand in this position. So it's a little bit more difficult, because I've reduced the surface area where I actually strike the string. So it's like right here on the corner of my thumb. Right. Now in your slap playing, basically you want two things in your sound. You know, getting a sound going is real important first. So you want the click, you know, good, plus a good regular note. Balance those two elements so that you have a good tone. So the first thing I recommend people work on is, first of all, get the hand form together. And where I start with this is that I think of my thumb as like a drumstick sticking out of my hand, and keep that as straight as I can. Then I line that up with the string, right? So then my hand will move this way. And I like to keep my arm off the bass. You know, just about any technique that I play, keeping my hands off the instrument, letting the strap do all the work, so that, you know, when I'm playing, even if it's slap stuff, doing everything, so, you know, I'm not leaning against anything, which I feel is real important. You know, frees up the hands to do a lot of different stuff.
Right.
Also, just digressing a little bit, you know, if you're playing and you let go of the instrument and it moves, then you're actually using hand energy to hold the instrument. You know, so weeding that out. So, you know, a good way to check it is just, you know, play something and then take your hands off real quick. And if the instrument moves, then you've got an issue with that. A lot of people like to rest their arm on the instrument here. It's a very comfortable thing to do, to rest the weight of the arm here, but it interferes with mobility on the strings. But more importantly, you're putting pressure on these veins, taking blood out of the hand. You know, I've seen people play like this and wonder why their fingers are going numb. You know, so you know, keeping your arms off the instrument is a really good thing to do. It takes a little getting used to, because if you've been doing it the other way, you'll find your shoulder getting fatigued pretty quickly. You know, and it takes a little time to adapt to it, but it really pays off.
Could you talk a little bit about scales, John?
Let me get into the slap thing real quick first. So anyway, that's part of, you know, keeping the arm off, right? Now, some people like, you know, if you rest it a little bit, the main thing is not to really dig in. You know, reduce the amount. If you don't want to take it all the way off, then just reduce the pressure is probably a good idea. Right, so then when I'm moving from string to string, you know, lining up the joint of the thumb with the tip of the thumb, I move this way, right? So the arm's moving this way as opposed to letting it move this way. Because the more you go this way, you're not able to get the thumb in there for the up part of the double thumb technique. It's not going to work, right? So the hand has to be down here. So when I do my regular thumb, getting back to just, getting, a good tone with the regular bounce thumb. It's just like a flick of the wrist. It's almost like you throw your thumb into the string and it bounces off. Strings harder to get a sound out of. Sometimes you might swipe it a little bit, get a little bit more tone, helps a little bit.
Does it matter where, is that the ideal spot over there by the neck, or is that?
Well, I think probably right at the end of the fingerboard here is a good place to shoot for. What I would not recommend is right over this 12th fret harmonic. Because of that harmonic, you lose some low end. See, right over there, you're getting kind of that happening, right? So, listen to the difference. Hear it thicken up as I move a little bit this way. A little bit of the low fundamental comes back into the sound. So just outside the fingerboard, if you have a 2-octave neck, good place to do it. Now you'll notice that the double thumb has more of a gristly sound to it. A lot of rattle going on. More notes with less effort. So I want to combine the regular thumb with the double thumb. Now with popping, you would probably want to pop like you play, regularly, with the same kind of finger angle that you go this way. The problem with that is you see what it does to the thumb. Now the thumb angle is, pointing down as opposed to being, parallel with the strings now, right? So, again, I look at the double thumb angle as being king here, and everything else follows that. So this is going to mean that I'm going to pop on the top of the sides of the fingers here. Now, if you do this and you're not used to it, be real careful because you can raise a blister in a matter of minutes, all right? You got the finger versus a steel string. Who's going to win? But anyway, I keep that same angle. So I combine all those things together. So for basically one down-up motion of the hand, I've got 4 notes. If I add a hammer-on, there's 5. More hammer-ons, pull-offs, you can, math gets pretty complex. And that's one thing about the slap technique that you have to realize is it's going to take some time because the mathematics are so much more complex. You have the regular thumb, the down-up thumb, the pop 1, pop 2, hammer-ons and pull-offs, to get your hands to where you don't have to think about it because, music's a language, and it really needs to be treated like one in the sense that the instrument's like your vocal cords when you talk to somebody. How much do you think about the way your mouth moves or any of this operates when you talk? You don't. That's the way you want the bass to be, right? So when it's not like, for those of you who have experience playing with the fingers, you don't have to really think about it, Right? I'm just hearing him play. I'm not really thinking about anything any more than you think about, how a word is spelled when you talk to somebody or how your mouth is moving or anything like that. So the point with the slap thing is you've got to give yourself some time for it to adapt, It's not going to come quickly because there's so many things to internalize to where you don't have to think, where you're actually hearing the ideas. Where my hands aren't really, I'm not thinking about how to do this, I've done it enough now to where it's starting to I hear it and my hands know where to go. And that's just a lot of hours, But, reducing all this excess motion is going to be a real important part of it. Right. So does that kind of get you going?